Was that you on stage at the end there?
I'm afraid it was, yes.
Fantastic. So what came first, the social impact or the culture or the heritage? What was it that inspired this, and what is it, ultimately what drives it?
Very, very early on, I think, art, first of all. We started out as actors and we wanted to earn a living, but we very quickly realised that we wanted to use art and theatre for social good. And we were approached by our local authority in Suffolk to do a project around young people in care, and Jimmy, who you saw in the film, was a young person in the youth theatre at the time. And I talked to him and said, would you like to get involved? And I said, you know, don't if you don't want to, because I knew it was his escape from all that. But he very much wanted to do that, and we created a new play called The Review, which was about review meetings, and it was taken up by the Department of Health and went national. And from there, we worked with lots and lots of various different groups. We've gone into prisons, working with young parents, and particularly we had a massive response to the Ipswich murders, which I'm sure some of you will remember. And we have specialised in working with people recovering from drug addiction and coming away from street prostitution as well. So that's been a really important thing for us in our locality, to respond to the needs of the town and to do something for Ipswich.
And you have no core funding, so tell me, what are the challenges of that, and is it your view that having to make the case for each piece of work you do in its own merits is actually something which strengthens you?
Yes, it is. I think it has been a tremendous strength to us, being completely independent, and it also means that we have to be extremely rigorous about the quality of the work and also doing things that are needed and wanted by people, and I see that as a huge advantage, although it is completely exhausting to be without core funding and to always be looking at regenerating through new projects and new income streams. And because we haven't got core funding, we are a very tiny team in the office, and that results in people doing probably the work of 5 people. So people do become very tired as a result of that. Although, you know, my team are incredibly excited and committed about their work. But I think, yeah, the short answer is yes. It's a great thing to be independent like that. It wasn't something that we did by design. When we set up, it was just about the time when the lists of core-funded organisations was being reduced rather than extended. So it wasn't really an option. And it also wasn't an option to spend a great deal of time investing in trying to achieve that, because we just need to get on with delivering the work. So it's achieving that balance between strategy and applications and actually delivering the work that we do on a day-to-day basis.
We've only got a very short time, so just 2 final questions. The first is, in terms of thinking about social impact, I argued actually a pamphlet that John Nell and I wrote a few years ago that the sector, the heritage art sector, when it's trying to achieve social impact, needs to demonstrate seriously in a robust and rigorous way that it achieves impact. But it ought to achieve impact in a way which is distinctive to itself, not necessarily in the same way as other public services might achieve. Is that the way that you think about it? That you have to demonstrate impact, but it's a particular type of impact?
Definitely. I mean, we have to measure impact, and all the forms talk about skills and people becoming employable and all those measurable outcomes. But to me, the most important outcome is often moments of joy, particularly working with people who have very difficult life experiences and are going through. We work a lot with people suffering from mental health problems and struggling with addiction. And what we can do is create a moment where that's forgotten about. And for me, that's often more valuable than somebody getting a job and moving forward. All those things are wonderful, don't get me wrong, but it's being able to escape in that creative moment and to collaborate together that is the special quality that we can bring, I think, to people's lives.
We'll have to ask Dan Croy to develop a really robust joy metric, I think.
Yes.
That wasn't entirely serious, by the way. Finally, heritage, specifically heritage. Talk about I mean, you're here, it is not an arts and culture event, it's a heritage event, so tell me about the specific role of heritage and what you do.
Well, it's something that crept up on us again, rather than being a strategic decision before it happened. I wrote a play about Thomas Clarkson, the abolitionist, who has links with Ipswich and lived just outside Ipswich, and that was an amazing education for me, and we worked with a lot of groups within the town over the issues of slavery, etc., which was a really exciting project. I then went on to write a play about our local mental asylum, which closed down, which was hugely interesting in giving a voice to people from the town who everybody seemed to have some kind of connection with that place. And also a play called Fallen in Love, which is about Anne Boleyn, which we took to the Tower of London last year. But that was a particularly exciting development in terms of social inclusion, because I was working with a group of young women who were struggling with heroin addiction and coming away from street prostitution at the time, and they just said to me, what are you working on at the moment? And I mentioned Anne Boleyn, and they just got really excited about it, and the whole thing snowballed, and we went on lots of trips. They found out all about the history, and they called themselves the History Girls and created their own play about Anne Boleyn, set in a modern context on the council estate in Ipswich, because it is the ultimate original domestic violence story, really. And it became really exciting to me. And from then, we've used heritage stories and local history more and more with our groups in really exciting ways.
Joanna Carrick.